Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Phyllis. That was just beautiful. It's a beautiful day here in Bloomington. And please stand and join us and join together in singing the first Noel. And for those of you who'd like to use the hymnal, in case you want to sing a little harmony, that's on page 260.
Seven.
Thank you.
On a cold winter
What a way to welcome this Advent season. You guys do such a good job. And thank you to all the congregation. Well, I'm here today to welcome you to Unity. And my name, if you don't know it, is Patty. And I'm graciously acting as your service leader. We welcome all who are present for this service, regardless of location. Spirit is living everywhere. Let's start by saying our statement of being. We are Unity of Bloomington. Our God is love. Our race is human. Our faith is oneness. We provide inspiration, tools, and practices that support people on their path of spiritual growth. Today, as I said before, we enter the Advent season. Advent, the 4 weeks before Christmas, begins today. We enter the season with today's daily word. If you're not familiar, which everyone in worldwide unity is, we enter this season today's daily word and the Advent response, and then we'll have an Advent responsive reading and a hymn. This is the daily word. When sharing the daily word, we are sharing with the whole Unity movement worldwide. Hope dawns within me and leads me to deepen my faith. Can we all say that? Hope dawns within me and leads me to deepen my faith. As the Advent season begins, we say no to pessimistic or hopeless notions that may have crept into our thinking, dimming our hope and weighing on our minds and hearts. Today we say yes to goodness. Yes to goodness. Today we say yes to positivity. Yes to positivity. By saying yes, we feel a sense of hope dawning within us. Yes to hope. Today we have a promise that something wonderful is on our way. In these moments, we feel our faith reborn. We affirm our belief that no earthly condition, no worldly circumstance is greater than the Spirit. This is where we place our faith in power, the presence, the love, and grace of God. We call upon these divine attributes within each of us. We now perceive them more readily in others. We grow in faith so that together we have the power to create the worlds of our highest imagination. Just think of that, our highest imagination. Hope dawns within us and leads us to deepen our faith. Now I am going to have a responsive reading with you, which means I will lead and you will respond. For this holy feast of hope and great expectation, let us power your imaginations and cast blessings on all events of the days ahead. We dedicate ourselves as channels for the coming of grace and truth, the truth of Christ upon the earth. We ask God's blessing in our homes. We invite the prospering activity of the Holy Spirit to bless our homes with warmth, order, and love. We ask God's blessing for the children, for their dreams, their hopes, their joy. We bless our children and behold in them the pure joy and beauty of Christ's love. We ask the blessings of divine graciousness on the Christmas tree and every revered symbol of the holy season. Divine love graciously and lavishly supplies the beauty of Christmas. We ask the spirit of guidance to aid in the selection of gifts we purchase and prepare to give. Divine intelligence guides us in the giving and receiving of gifts. We give lovingly and receive graciously. We ask the Spirit of life to bless the preparation of the holiday food. Divine love blesses the hand and prepares every sweet morsel and fills every receiver with delight and well-being. We ask God's presence at parties and gatherings of friends and families. Divine love brings harmony, enjoyment, and healing love wherever two or more are gathered in his name this holy season. We ask the peace of Christ to manifest in the world this Christmas. The Christ of peace expresses from every human heart, and the earth rejoices in the spirit of brotherhood and our oneness with God. The lights of Christmas symbolize our illuminated hearts. We have joined together to prepare for the coming of Christ. We open our hearts and our minds in this reality. Let the Christ be born in us this day. Accept our thankful heart of loving. And now I believe I sit down and Reverend Nate comes up. I've got one more thing. Oh, we're all going to sing O Come, O Come, Emmanuel.
don't think I'm on. Am I on now? Nope, I'm muted. Now I am. Good. We'll get this. That is a beautiful hymn, words written over 1,000 years ago. Inviting the presence of the Christ, inviting the birth of the Messiah. That's what we celebrate at Christmas. And we talk about that and we sing about that for 4 weeks before Christmas, the Advent season. Traditionally, it's about hope, love, peace, and joy. And an Advent wreath is often part of that preparation time. We have an Advent wreath up here. Traditionally, there's the 3 purple candles and a red one or a pink one. There's a lot of different stories going on about that. Oh, let me get a match here. Going to light some candles this morning. Traditionally, Advent is about preparing for the birth of Christ, preparing ourselves to celebrate and to enter into the mystery and the miracle of the birth of Jesus. We make a very important distinction between the Christ and Jesus. So traditionally, you light a candle every week, and on Christmas Eve, you light the center candle, the light of the Christ. It's supposed to represent the birth of the Christ. It represents the birth of Jesus. The Christ is the Spirit of God, the idea in the mind of God for each one of us. The Christ is the presence of God in all of creation, in every one of us. The Christ is always there. And so, we keep a Christ candle burning all the time. It never goes out. It is always present. We are the ones that aren't quite here and now in connection with the Christ. And so we're talking about the birth of Jesus, and we're talking about the growing awareness of that presence of God, of that Christ within us. So we carefully make that distinction. I'm using these 4 different candles to describe 4 different paths to the consciousness of the Christ. The Christmas story, we sang many elements of the story already. Christmas story, the nativity scene, really points to 4 different ways of coming into the awareness of the Christ within, of the Christ energy, the energy of light and love and wisdom in the earth, in our community, in our lives. 4 different spiritual traditions that each one of us has within us. So, we're going to start with the path of the heart, the path of emotion, of feeling, of devotion, gratitude, praise, faith. That's the first path. So I have been told that you have a tradition of an Advent to have different families come up and light the Advent candles. And so I'm going to invite Jonna and Roy to come up and light the first one of the purple ones. Okay, try a different one. Okay, try a different one. Yeah. All right, thank you. Okay, each one of us participates in this journey. This journey, this story, this nativity scene is about each one of us. It's about gathering together in a wholeness of different ways of climbing the mountain of spirituality. And there's an old thing that there are many paths up the mountain, but we all come to the same place. Well, we're talking about coming to the place of mystery and new birth and the celebration of awareness of what that Christ of God can do in us, for us, through us. I came to Unity as a yogi. I started my spiritual path with doing some yoga exercises, and then the relaxation at the end was like, wow. And then the meditation was like, it was an awakening to spirituality. And so I got involved with yoga. And one of the things I learned in that journey is yoga means union, coming together of what had seemed to be separate to create a union. And there are different ways. And my teacher said, there are 4 different kinds of yoga. There are more than 4. But he said there's bhakti yoga, devotion, chanting, praising to God, singing the name of God. And we did that a lot, chanting. There's Raja Yoga, the royal yoga, the yoga of meditation, of inner awareness. It's the yoga of mysticism and mystery. There's a yoga of knowledge. It's called jnana yoga. That's the yoga, that's the path of philosophy and theology of the mind. Kind of like what we're part of that path. And then there's a 4th path, which is they call karma yoga. Sometimes they call it dharma. It's the path of duty, of responsibility, of personal calling and purpose in life, of doing what is ours to do. That's the path of action, of living it. That path of action, that path of the body, of living it, is represented by animals in the nativity scene. It's represented by the stable, about being in the earth, and we'll talk about the innkeeper represents that. The path of the mind is represented by the 3 wise ones, the scientists of their day. The shepherds represent the path of staying awake and conscious in the darkness, like meditation. And Joseph and Mary represent the path of devotion, emotion, and faith. Every one of these is within us. Every element is more or less active. And so I'd like you today to consider, what's this mean to me? What does this show about me? Today we're going to talk about Joseph and Mary. we're going to talk about the path of devotion. They're all yours. So, the Christmas story is only in 2 of the Gospels, and it's only a couple paragraphs long. I mean, we sing the songs that makes it sound like there's a huge amount in here. Well, there's just a little bit. Matthew starts off by saying, an angel came to Mary. Mary served in the temple. Mary represents devotion, an open-hearted approach to the divine. She had a direct experience where an angel said, "You're going to give birth." How could that happen? "I'm a virgin." He said, "Well, don't worry about it. It's going to happen." She worried about it. She held it in her heart, she said. She didn't know what to think about it, but she held it in her heart. Sometimes we don't know what to think about things. We hold it in our hearts and trust that things will unfold. Trusting is this path of the heart. Scholars have pointed out that lots of different significant people have been born miraculously. So the miracle birth stories are present all over the world. She may not have been a virgin, but the fact isn't what's important. It's what it points to, that the sense of purity and devotion gives birth to a consciousness of infinite love and wisdom. So, and then Matthew's story goes on, talks about the wise men. It doesn't mention much about Joseph, except Joseph had a dream where an angel said to him, Mary's pregnant. Don't worry about it. Just have faith. Joseph woke up and said, and found out she was pregnant. He was going to divorce her. He had the dream, and he stayed with it. He didn't understand it. He couldn't explain it to all of the guys down at the camel corral. He couldn't explain it. The mind didn't work, but he knew in his heart. That's faith. There are things that we know that we can't explain. That's the path of the heart. Joseph's faith, Mary's devotion. They pointed something that we have within ourselves, the heart path. In humanity's spiritual traditions, the heart path is the wide path up the mountain. It's the primary entryway into the spiritual path. They have the primary practices through different denominations within Christianity, through different parts of different spiritual traditions. The path of the heart is the path that most people begin with. Now, not everyone stays with it, but it's inviting. It feels good. We're going to look at some of those elements of that path. We're going to look at some of the paths that other denominations take, some of the things within unity that are the paths of the heart. And I'm going to invite you to think about what are the elements in your heart that move you closer to the light, to the love, to the life of the divine. I'm going to sing some Christmas carols and talk about some Christmas carols. And so, one of the things on the heart's path is, what does this mean? What's happening? Questioning. That's a heart thing. So we're going to sing a song now that is kind of a heart-opening one. What child is this? What does this mean? Let's join together in this. You notice how singing a familiar Christmas carol brings up feelings, moves us out of thinking, perhaps. That's one of the practices of the heart's path. In yoga, they call it bhakti, devotional singing and chanting. I can tell you about it, but instead, let's just go back one slide and take, the babe, the son of Mary. The babe, the son of Mary. Let's sing that a couple times. The babe, the son of Mary. Again. The babe, the son of Mary. More. The babe, the son of Mary. Again and again. The babe, the son of Mary. One more. The babe, the son of Mary. Imagine doing that for another 5 minutes. brings us to a place of quietness. So it's kind of like a meditation technique. It's a tradition of only believe. Don't think about it. Just sing it. Just feel it. Don't worry about what it means. Don't worry about, I don't like that word. Don't worry about where did this come from. Just do it and feel it. That's the path of the heart. There's a story about a professor of philosophy and religion, a famous atheist, Samuel Ichie Hayakawa, became a U.S. senator from California. And one year, he was leaving a Christmas party early, and he said, "I'm going to go to church. I'm going to go to midnight mass." And people said, "What? You don't believe that. Why are you doing this?" He said, "Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it feeds my soul. It feeds my soul." Some of the words of the Christmas carols that we sing don't make a lot of sense. Some of them we disagree with completely, with words like Redeemer and Savior and sacrifice. It offends what we believe, what we know. But this isn't about thinking. It's about having our souls fed, about having our hearts open. What does your open heart say? What do you know? What feels right to you? What does your faith tell you? Joseph within you. What does the devotional Mary within you say? There are a lot of traditions, a lot of practices about the heart path. We don't necessarily practice them. Bowing, kneeling, prostrating ourselves. That's about humility, about surrendering. We can relate to that, can't we? About letting go. How do you let go? How do you make yourself available to inspiration? One of my automatic go-to prayers is, "Thy will be done. Thy will be done." What do I do? I'm not sure what to do here. What do I say? What do I make out of what's going on? Thy will be done. Thy will be done. Oh, thy will be done. We may not even, there are a lot of things that we don't practice, like kneeling and bowing and different kinds of devotion. And it's tempting to evaluate other traditions that do things differently. It's tempting to become chauvinistic about our path is the right path. No, my path is the right path for me. Bless you on your path. Bless all of those other paths. Some of those devotional things we might have trouble understanding. So in the evangelical church tradition, there may be bowing and kneeling, but there's praise you, Jesus. Give me Jesus, give me Jesus. You can have all this world. Give me Jesus. Tears running down the cheeks. I've been there, and I've felt the tears. It's like, wow. Can't take the stories, the meanings that they give, but the open-hearted experience is really something. We do have open-hearted devotional aspects to unity. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, was invited to bring unity into a national organization called the International New Thought Alliance. That was where all the different New Thought churches, Centers for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind, Divine Science, and some other New Age centers all got together into the International New Thought Alliance. It still exists. Fillmore would not join it. He said, only if Jesus Christ was acknowledged as the head of that organization would he join it. It's like, wow. Because they would not do that. He said, unity doesn't fit there. So Charles Fillmore, as intellectual as he was, as deeply centered he was in spiritual principles and in knowing and being able to understand and manipulate the mind, if that heart orientation wasn't acknowledged, it didn't belong. So, we might do some praise. We've been doing gratitude all month. Gratitude's a heart expression. In Unity, we do affirmative prayer. And sometimes people say, no, we don't ask, we affirm. A lot of traditional churches are inviting, asking for the divine. Well, Emily Cady, who was commissioned to write Unity's textbook, Lessons in Truth, says prayers of asking open us to receive. It's okay to ask because it has a heart-opening effect on us. So, do you have any favorite prayers? What do you do whenever you're confused or having some difficulty and you say, I need to pray about this? What's your go-to? God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God is so good. There's a song about that. Surely the presence, divine order, or the prayer for protection. Those are heart-centered prayers that we use. So think about what are automatic prayers that come up for you. All this talk about feelings, not necessarily thinking, but feelings. What's that say for you? Feeds your soul. Okay, our Christmas carols do that. A lot of the songs that we sing in Unity are kind of open-hearted ones. God is so good, surely the presence. Use me, I'm only here for God. I remember when I went to the first time I went to a Unity church. I was there for a workshop that was being offered after the service. I thought I'd check out the service. You know, I was a yogi, a little skeptical about going to church, so I sat in the last row in case I needed to duck out. The idea of a metaphysical interpretation of the Bible was introduced. That's a mind thing, about the stories in Scripture represent something within us, and it was talking about the Exodus, is about our journey from the bondage to the material world to the promised land of unity, of union with God, wholeness. It's like, wow, I like that. At the end of the service, let it begin with me. It's like, whoa, I had tears coming down. It's like, something's happening here. I like this. But earlier in the service, we sang the Lord's Prayer. And that really touched me. You know, I wasn't crazy about the words. I really hadn't said those words. But singing it and the connection with other people singing it just opened my heart, and I felt so much. We're going to do that this morning. We're going to use the words of the Lord's Prayer as a way of going into meditation. But we're not going to sing it. We're going to listen to it. We're going to feel it. Okay? Dan sings this wonderfully, very dramatically. And at the end of it, you're going to want to stand up and cheer, or at least applaud. Don't do that. No, really. Because doing that applause, that kind of dissipates the energy that you feel. So at the end of it, we're just going to stop. Drop into the silence. Drop into the heart, which is opened by this song, by this prayer. And be in the heart and stay with that energy, and allow it to take you to a place of mystery, a path of the heart to the light of the divine.
Hallowed be us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
Stay with that. Feel that. Open and receptive to God's living Spirit. Thank you, God. There is only one. What words come to mind? What song does your heart sing? What calls you to come deeper, to draw closer? Allow that to lead you into the silence, into the spaciousness of your heart, into the mystery of pure being. Come to the Christ within you. Come to the silence of new birth, the peace of light and love and light within you now. You can return to this time, to this place, on your own. Remember this. This is your place. How do you complete your time in this place? What would you do to complete this? Say a word of gratitude, or to ask, to notice an insight that you got, set an intention, affirm something. It may be clear, may be a little fuzzy, may be a bit mysterious on your journey, just as it was very mysterious for Mary on her journey.
I have traveled many moonless nights, cold and weary, with a baby inside, and I wonder what frightened by the load I bear in a world as cold as stone. Must I walk this path alone? Be with me now. Be with me now. Breath of heaven, hold me together. Be forever near me. Breath of heaven. Breath of heaven, lighten my darkness. Pour over me your holiness, for you are holy. Breath of heaven. Do you wonder as you watch my face if a wiser one should have had my place? But I offer all I am for the mercy of your plan. Help me be strong. Help me be. Help me. Breath of heaven, hold me together. Be forever near me. Breath of heaven. Breath of heaven, lighten my darkness. Pour over all your holiness, for you are holy. Breath of heaven. Breath of heaven. Breath of heaven.
Ooh. Thank you, Phyllis. Ooh, beautiful. Okay, we're getting ready to leave. We're getting ready to wrap up the Sunday service. We're getting ready to step back into all what we do during the week. We have a blessing for the coming week. Our abundance affirmation is about our giving of our time and our talent and our treasure. So at this time, if you have a particular prayer request, you can fill that out so you have it ready when the offering bag comes by. One of the things we're asking, one of the announcements is we're forming a prayer team. We're adding people to the prayer team, people that are willing to pray with the prayer requests that come in your own way, in your own time. If you're willing to get an email with the prayer requests that come into the church, put that in, put your name in the offering bag. If you're a newcomer, there's a newcomer sheet there. And we would like you to tell us what you think, what you've seen, what you feel. So that's a first impressions card. So you can put that in the bag when it comes by. So think about, where do you go from today, from here? What are you doing for the rest of the day? What are you doing for the rest of the week? Think about your calendar. Think about what you would offer to the world and being yourself. Think about what you would give of your treasure in support of unity of Bloomington, in support of life on earth. And so that is all in the consciousness of this abundance affirmation. Let's declare this together. I am an abundant being, living in an abundant universe. God is the source of my supply. I always have something to give, and I consistently give it. I expect the best, I give my best, and I now attract the best in every experience. And so, for what it is that we have to be, what it is that we have to give, we bless our time, talent, and treasure with the words of this love offering blessing. Let's declare it together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. We need the ushers to come.
It's growing because I choose love. Love's always present. It's what I'm made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One tie that binds us that can't be undone. I choose love. I choose love. Peace in my family is growing because I choose love. Let love be present. It's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one loving family, sharing one son. I choose love. I choose love. Peace for our planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present. It's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One choice unites us. Let this be the one. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love.
I've mentioned a couple announcements already, but the first one is that part of our community, Janice Chaffee, passed away this week. She did the sound healings and singing bowls things here. We don't have any information yet about a memorial service, but we will let you know that as soon as it comes, as soon as we can. There's still room in the choir. See Phyllis if you want to sing. Okay? We can use greeters, ushers. If you're willing to do that, see Jonah. Stay today to help decorate, and there is some bagels, cream cheese in the back from the, what's the name of your study group? Wild at Heart. Okay, they meet at 9:30 downstairs on Sundays. Okay, and Thursday night, is there another announcement page? Yeah. Okay, Thursday nights, we're going to work on the transition, clarify what it is that needs to be done, what's able to be done. So that's the board is inviting everybody to come and participate in that. Okay? And I mentioned the Silent Unity, Bloomington Silent Unity prayer team. Okay? So in closing, let's stand and form a circle. Yeah, okay, form a circle, because we're going to affirm the prayer for protection for us, and we have a tangible, physical sense of what us means. Us in this room, all of us in our hearts, all of us with whom we share life. Let's declare the words of the prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let there be peace. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be with God our Creator. United all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Shalom. Hallelujah. Shalom. All right. Great job.
Choir practice while we decorate.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. Every single bit of it. And it flowed so nicely, and the metaphysical was wonderful.
All right.